Kia ora, ko whasmitahu. Nā mai ki te whare, welcome to the house. At the heart of many bad spy or disaster movies is some sort of command bunker, an underground place where the heroes or villains meet to decide the next plot point. Their lairs are as silly as their crises, but the general idea is true. The Yanks have the Situation Room under the White House. The Brits have a group with the silly name Cobra, but their crises are observed from the more prosaic National Situation Centre. The Aussies have a National Situation Room, part of an agency called NEMA. And we also have a NEMA, the National Emergency Management Agency, but thank goodness for acronyms. And that brings us to the Beehive, and a small, unremarkable door down in the basement where I joined our Minister for Emergency Management, Mark Mitchell. Bottom of the Beehive, there's a door that I walk past quite frequently. Looks sort of like it's going into a janitor's closet or something.
It's pretty nondescript, isn't it?
It is, rather. Yeah. It's almost like you're trying to hide the thing. And we've just come through it, and I'm surprised to see it does not lead into a room.
No, it leads into a series of stairs. So as we descend, well, we're in the basement, of course, already. Yeah. It leads us into really the heart of the decision-making or the management of any emergencies, or especially a national emergency when we have them. So, yeah.
There's a big sign on the wall just to remind everyone who you are when you come in, National Crisis Management Centre.
That's right.
With photos down the stairs of various emergencies through the years.
Yes, yep.
Because New Zealand's pretty good at emergencies.
Well, since I've been Minister, we've had 14 local states for emergencies. So,
sure.
Yeah, and that's in a bit over 18 months. So, yes, we have to deal with quite a lot as a country. It was open in 1969.
Right.
You can see some of the things that have been collected over time.
Collected all the way back to World War II. So you should introduce yourself.
Mark Mitchell, and I'm the Minister for Emergency Management.
Right.
Steph Mitchie, I'm the Acting Director of CDM at NEMA.
Cool. It does actually feel like we're well underground now.
Yeah.
It's only a floor or two down, but it's quiet.
Yeah.
There's not many places in the Beehive that are quiet.
It is an unusual place. There's no natural light, obviously. I always do think of the history of the place when I come down here. Thankfully, we haven't had to open and use this for a national emergency in the last 18 months, but we've certainly run lots of exercises down here.
That's kind of bonkers, though, that in New Zealand you think it's a long time between national emergency when it's been 18 months.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously the last one we had was Cyclone Gabriel.
Yeah.
And this is with the heart of the decisions that were being made at central government level.
So down here, what happens? What do your guys do if there's something like Cyclone Gabriel going on and there's a national emergency? Does this suddenly become a hive of people?
If we activate into what we call a Mode 3, if we need to come down here and bring other agencies.
Down from your normal office?
Yeah, and that's NEMA, but NEMA's only the heart of the coordination system. It's actually all the government agencies that need to come together to produce a national response. So you'll find a whole host of coordination mechanisms. You'll find other government departments, all the emergency services, defence, and every agency you can imagine that might be involved will have a representative, will be part of something going on down here or be feeding into down here. And that's really how we will coordinate across the sector, which includes all the CDM groups out and around the country, but also central government agencies as well.
So is this, as much as anything, an attempt to prevent absolute chaos with everyone running in no fixed direction but not talking to each other?
Oh, I don't think it's an attempt.
But you know what I mean? That's sort of, rather than everything being decided here, you're coordinating.
We are a coordination function,
Yeah.
and it depends on the legislation that's in place at the time and whether or not there's a declaration of a national emergency or a regional state of emergency. So it's all linked back to the CDM Act, of course.
Yeah. And in the event of a national emergency, it'd be you that would declare that, is that right, Mark?
Yeah, there's a few mechanisms, but ultimately, yes, the Minister would be declaring. And yes, this is where all the coordination happens, because whether it be a national, regional or local state of emergency, there's decisions that have to be made, a rolling sort of decisions, and coordination between our first responders, our community, civil defence, spontaneous volunteers. It can be pretty chaotic pretty quickly.
Yeah, but there are people in every community that are sort of
there are 100%. There's, Kiwis are very good at looking after themselves, but what comes with that is you can get a whole lot of spontaneous volunteers that may put themselves at risk without knowing. And so that's why we're doing a lot of work, especially with the new legislation, so that everyone understands how they interact with the system, so that we get much better coordinated through community, iwi and hapu, rural communities, first responders right across the whole landscape of emergency management.
That makes good sense. So show me around. For a start, we've gone through what is kind of like a tiny museum out here, haven't we?
And this is the reception area, so this is where you'll be met, this is where you'll get signed in.
Right.
So it's confirmed that you are actually meant to be down here
Yep.
in the role that you have, and then you'll come through the green door.
And now you know you're in the Beehive because everything's like a circle.
It is. This is the main operations room. This is where you'd have your national controller
Afternoon.
and your directors and...
It's almost set up like a captain's deck up on top there, looking down on all of the other people down on the tables.
Yeah, we'll go up there and
Let's go up.
Yeah.
Yeah, who have we got?
Yep. Kia ora. My name's Charlie Blanche. I'm the National Controller at the National Emergency Management Agency.
And what does that mean?
So in an emergency, I'll lead and coordinate the response of the Civil Defence Emergency Management groups. All of our partner agencies, and in a state of national emergency, I'll exercise the emergency powers that a National Controller holds.
We're not waiting until we have a national emergency. NEMA is proactive and involved in supporting local states of emergency.
Which actually gives you good practice as well, I
It
suppose.
does. Well, it keeps it, it's like anything. It gives you muscle memory and you sort of develop those relationships. You understand what the challenges are in the different regions and areas that have been hit.
So you're just fortunate that we have enough of the regional ones.
We've gone into 14 local states of emergency.
While you've been the minister.
Yeah, while I've been the minister. So
Right.
most of those have related to flooding. In fact, I think all of them have. We've obviously had fires. I mean, just in the last 72 hours, we've had
Yeah,
a couple
true.
of major fires down south. I get regular updates, probably at least 2 or 3 a day, coming out of our own emergency management centre.
And you talk about the last 72 hours, because obviously this was recorded a week or so ago. But, I mean, within the last day or so, you were saying as well that, with a major wind event, people lose power, which is another kind of crisis, which is not specifically your problem, but leads to all sorts of other things.
This facility is in concept available to any agency that may be a lead, but the reason we're so interested in something like power is because of the flow-on consequences for the community. So, for example, if an entire region lost power for 2 or 3 days, some people would be unable to live at home.
Yep.
And if they couldn't find other accommodation, then there are welfare systems that local CDM, this is not, we're not controlling that at a national level, but we can support.
Yeah.
And we also need to maintain a good understanding of what's going on so that we can provide support if it's needed.
And I suppose every time there's a major, especially like a red warning on weather and stuff, you guys are having to sort of plan ahead for...
It's going red, then it's probably going into a local state of emergency. And our NEMA and our MAR team will be speaking with all our CDM teams that are impacted or affected by those weather events. So there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes that people don't see in terms of monitoring and making sure that they're prepared and they make decisions early.
It's actually quite a large space with quite a few different spaces within it, right? How many people sort of are down here during a major thing?
Well, it's a large space when you've got no people in here. It feels
I suppose
like
it
quite
becomes
a
very small
space.
when there's...
when everyone comes in. But you know what? The thing that gets me is we've run a few exercises down here, and actually everyone really enjoys the exercise and they enjoy getting in here because they're often working together remotely.
Yeah.
And it brings everyone together.
Yeah.
It just strengthens, the response and the system.
Yeah, absolutely. Down below, you've got 4, 5, 6 sort of pods of people working around circular areas, and then a whole lot of screens on the wall. Would they be sort of showing different things that you needed to know for different areas, or what would be going on?
Absolutely. So there's a big focus in gaining what we call situational awareness, understanding what's going on the ground with first responders, emergency services, as well as the 16 CDM groups. So we use a number of tools to do that. Mapping is a really key part of that. So the CDM groups, through their councils, are using maps every day across council services. We lever and we build on that in an emergency, and they're able to share that with partner agencies. We also get data from the likes of Waka Kotahi on closures and disruption to the state highway network. We produce our own layers like tsunami evacuation zones, and we'll share that. So some of the displays will be maps, others will be media monitoring. You'll see people down here moving between what they've got in front of them on the screens and the individual pieces of work they're doing, to also sharing pieces of information that everybody in the centre needs to be aware of on the big screens.
Right.
So we talk in the sector about locally led, regionally coordinated, nationally supported.
Okay.
So our focus here, like the last few weeks with the support to Nelson Tasman, we were coordinating surge staff from across the country, councils and CDM groups putting up their trained staff to go down and work in Nelson Tasman. Those CDM groups within their regional councils and the local agencies, they're really responsible day to day for managing those local hazards.
So the more localised the effect, the more local the decision making, and the higher up the tree you come, the more coordination is involved. Is that right?
Broadly, so those local councils and regional councils know their local communities, know their hazardscape. Our job is to support them. For those big national level risks, especially things like tsunami and earthquake, that's why we have a 24/7 monitoring, alerting, reporting centre, so that when we see a massive earthquake in the Pacific, they'll work with our science advisors and they'll issue that advice, including national emergency mobile alerts if we need to.
They'll all come in and they'll have you'll know what their role is.
Reflective vests, and they're all colour-coded. Policy in silver,
Yeah.
planning in pink, welfare in light blue,
so
operations
welfare.
in... I'm confused already. There's quite a few of them, aren't there?
Yep.
It's like the most impressive sort of team of netball bibs.
Yeah, well, everyone comes in, they get this on, then everyone immediately knows what their role is down here. They are dedicated, they are actually, well versed in the role, and they'll all be set together, they'll all be working together, in the operations room here.
So you've got the sort of logistics team in one area and the support team in another and a policy area down the end and so on.
Yeah.
Correct. So during Gabrielle, we had about 120 staff down here on the day shift, and they were drawn from across central government agencies. So anyone working in logistics understands how logistics works. They can come in and they can apply it here. If we send them to a CDM group, they can go and do the logistics role. The focus may be slightly different, a little bit more operational the further down you go, but they're talking the same language, they're wearing the same coloured vest. In this space, typically they'll be in there, we call them the SIMS function groups around it, but they'll come together. So when we're doing contingency planning, it's really important that operations has got a voice, that iwi liaison is present, that intelligence function is talking about long-term trends.
Yeah.
So planning will have a representative from all of those functions drawing it together to produce that contingency plan or the next action plan.
That makes sense. You said 120 people down here during Gabriel. This must have been uncomfortable. Wander me around further.
It's not the most optimal sort of working environment over a long term.
You're moving next door when the other building's finished.
Yeah, when the other building's finished, that'll be a state of the art.
It'll also be a little bit more disaster proof, I would have thought.
Yeah, well, it is. It's probably going to be one of the safest buildings in the country, which is pretty good when you consider that that's where all the people that are going to be running things, if we do have a national state of emergency, you can get everyone in here and they just make it work. If we sort of carry on around the building.
And we did. It turns out the bunker is not so much a corner hidey hole as a huge concrete ring under the Beehive above, with office space, breakout rooms, a large cafeteria, a boardroom, bunk rooms, quiet spaces and a media briefing area. It feels like a cross between a government office block and a 1960s fallout shelter. It's impressive, but I'm sure they're very much looking forward to the new office building underway behind Parliament. It'll have less Soviet-era chic and a window or two.
So that's basically it. This is the beating heart of where everyone comes and make sure that we do the best coordinated response to any emergency that we have. We're a country that's at risk of tsunami, earthquake,
Pick a thing.
flooding,
Volcanoes, earthquakes.
space weather, volcanoes, you name it.
Yeah,
So
and it's
we
not
got-
like we're going to get less of it.
No, unfortunately, it appears that we're not. But I just think actually we're in a really good space as a country. I think that we've got outstanding people right through every level of emergency management and civil defence response. We've got world-class first responders, and we've got communities that always stand up and react as well. So, yeah, we're in a good space.
That was Mark Mitchell, the Minister for Emergency Management. And earlier, you also heard Stephen Mitchie, the Acting Director of CDM at NEMA, and Charlie Blanche, the National Controller at NEMA. My thanks to them for a tour of the National Crisis Management Centre under the Beehive, more usually referred to as the bunker. You've been listening to The House, e te whakarongo koe ki te whare. This program is produced with funding from Parliament's Office of the Clerk. Matawa.